When you're in a relationship that isn't going anywhere, it can very much feel like you are running up a down escalator. You might feel like you're making some progress sometimes, but every time you stop to take a breath, you find yourself exactly back where you started. If you can relate, this video is for you, and there are some signs that can help you figure out whether to keep trying or whether to step off that escalator once and for all. The first sign is that it feels like your partner always has one foot out the door. And this is so incredibly common when you're dealing with a narcissist or when you're in a toxic relationship. And I hear stories like this so often, and I even have my own. And the story goes that there are issues in the relationship and you want to work on them. But every time you bring an issue up, the other person threatens to leave. Things escalate so quickly. It could have even been something very small that you brought up, like an issue with laundry or doing the dishes, and they're ready to go. If you make an issue of it, they're going to leave. Any sort of criticism, no matter how it's presented, is going to trigger this person and it's going to hurt their ego. And throughout the relationship, you know this. So you learn to choose your battles and sometimes end up walking on eggshells around this person. And if you're dealing with a narcissist, those aren't empty threats. They actually will leave eventually. They may not leave as often as they threaten to leave, but eventually the relationship will be over for them and they will discard. And a discard with a narcissist is what you would call a breakup with someone else. But the reason why the word discard is used, or one of the reasons, is because this breakup is so brutal. It can be very sudden and extremely harsh. And this person will walk away without giving it a second thought, as if the relationship never existed in the first place. And this can be very difficult to process and very difficult to understand. So regardless of whether you're with a narcissist or not, if you're with someone who's doing this, threatening to leave every time there's any sign of an issue, they're telling you, they're showing you under no uncertain terms that they have zero interest in making this relationship work. And so from here, the choice is yours. Do you want to stay in a relationship with someone like this, or would you like to start making other plans? So the next sign that your relationship might be doomed is that the bad times outnumber the good. And if you're in this place, you're probably going to feel like you're fighting all the time, like you can't get along no matter what you do or no matter how you try. And of course, in every relationship, people are going to argue. And you may even get to the point in any relationship where you feel like you're arguing more often than not. But in most healthy relationships, this ends up being more of a phase that you can work through. But if it seems more like the norm than the exception, there may be some deeper issues in your relationship that could lead to the end. Of course, this is always up to you and your partner. It does take two people to work on a relationship. So if you're feeling like you're in this place and you both want to work on it, there may still be some hope. But when you find yourself here in a relationship, it's really easy to end up in an impasse where you feel like you can't really care about how your partner is feeling because your needs aren't being met. Or you get the feeling like you care about your partner and you care about the relationship, but they couldn't care less about how you feel or how their actions are making you feel. So on to number 3, which is apathy. Have you ever been so over something that you couldn't even muster the tiniest bit of feeling about it? You may even try your hardest, but you've been so hurt by this person or this situation in the past that you've almost become numb to it. So when something comes up again, you don't even want to fight because you feel like you don't have any fight left in you. When you're in a toxic relationship, or if you're in a relationship with someone who is always abusing your trust, this kind of numbness tends to happen over time. So for example, the first time your partner cheats on you, you feel like you're not going to be able to get over it. You feel like it's the worst thing in the world. The 5th time, if you're still around for it, it's not going to sting as much. You're not going to even be able to access those feelings again that you had in the beginning. And you may even start to feel like there's something wrong with you because you feel like you know how you should feel, but you just don't actually feel anything. And if you are with a narcissist, this relationship is going to go through phases. So there's the love bombing phase and then the devaluation and then the discard. And sometimes a narcissist will come back around and hoover. And if you've been through multiple phases like this, I'm going to bet that you're going to start to be desensitized to the process. I can tell you that that is for sure what happened to me. So, the fourth sign that your relationship is probably doomed is that you've lost your sense of individuality. And this can happen very quickly in a relationship where one partner is very controlling. Through coaching, I talk to so many people who have been in toxic relationships like this. And one common thread I see is that people don't tend to see the control as it's happening because it happens so gradually. But little by little, that person's sense of self and self esteem gets tied to the other person's approval. So when your partner says, for example, that you shouldn't talk to your mother as much as you do, you might feel inclined over time to cut back on communication with her because you know that it's going to make the other person happy. And it doesn't matter to you if it makes you happy, because making that other person happy is all that matters. And when it comes to red flags and signs that your relationship is doomed, there are some non negotiables, and control is one of them for a lot of people, and for good reason. So, if you're having trouble identifying control in your relationship, start by looking at how you feel. If you're feeling a sense of helplessness or hopelessness in your relationship, that is a major red flag that there is something off. And if you're dealing with a controlling partner, you might feel like you need permission to do anything, to talk to your friends, to go out, to spend extra time or money at the grocery store. If you feel like you need someone else's permission to do basic things, or you might get in trouble, that's a sign that control may be present in your relationship. If you can relate to this one, this sounds very much like a toxic relationship. And I have a free download that can help you unpack what's going on there. And a lot of it, again, has to do with how you feel in this relationship. And in that download, there is a checklist you can use to help figure that out. So another sign that your relationship is probably doomed is that the other person's presence, their mere presence, drains you energetically. So think of your energy as a battery. And if you've ever had a phone where the battery drains way too fast, you're going to understand what it's like to be around someone like this who is draining your energy. So when it's your phone, there could be so many things at play. It could be that your brightness is up too high and it's draining your battery. But when it's your partner, I can guarantee you it is not your brightness, but something is up too high, and it's probably your stress levels. So I want to share some common reasons why you may feel this way around your partner. And one of them is that your partner just doesn't listen to you. So you have to work extra hard to be heard. If you want to make sure that your partner hears what you're saying, it's important to you, and you want it to land, you have to work extra hard to get their focus and attention. It could also be that the person's attitude escalates faster than the price of gas. So they might be happy in one moment and extremely angry in another moment. You might experience contentment and rage all in the same 10 seconds. And because you've come to expect this, you have learned to walk on eggshells around this person. And this can be outright exhausting. And if you're finding this video helpful, now would be a great time to subscribe, because there's a whole lot more content like this coming your way. So the next sign that your relationship might be over is that the trust is gone. And this is cliche, but trust is something that is easy to lose and very difficult to regain. And whenever we talk about a break in trust, cheating for sure is the first thing that comes up, because that is such an intense betrayal that it is extremely difficult to get past. But being unfaithful in a relationship is not the only way that you can break someone's trust. If you are in desperate need of emotional support, and you go to your partner and they invalidate your feelings, yell at you, or belittle you, they are breaking your trust. Because emotional support is a very important part of a relationship. You should be able to trust your partner with your feelings. Of course, this doesn't mean that your partner's always going to know exactly what to say to make you feel better, but they shouldn't be making you feel worse. And if that's happening consistently, then this is not someone you can trust with your feelings. So now let's get to the elephant in the room, and that is cheating. Have you ever had the gut-wrenching feeling of finding out your partner has been unfaithful? I have, and I know that a lot of you have as well. Unfortunately, cheating is a lot more common than it really should be. Maybe you end up finding messages that weren't really meant for you, or maybe your gut is just telling you something is up, and you know that the other person's story is not adding up, and you feel it. Your intuition's lighting up and telling you something is wrong. Of course, you don't want to be right. You don't want to read the words that weren't meant for you. You don't want to read the words that basically are ending your relationship. You don't want to have the feeling that your partner is cheating on you. And you don't want to be able to see through their lies. But there's really no way around it. And if you find out that your partner's cheating, or if you have that gut feeling and you just know your partner's cheating, unless you both seriously work to recover that trust, that breach alone can destroy a relationship. You will never feel comfortable when that person is not right next to you. And there are also some times when a partner may accuse you of cheating when they have absolutely no reason to believe that you are. And sometimes when this happens, it is a sign that they are cheating. Not always, but it is sometimes projection. So this can happen if your partner thinks that you kind of think and act the way they do. And if they're cheating, then they naturally think that you're cheating too. Or it could be a manipulation tactic. It could be a strategy to throw you off your game. Because when you're playing a defensive role, it's very difficult to play that offensive position. So when you're too busy defending yourself against false claims, you're either not going to have the energy to question your partner, or if you do question them at that point, it's going to look like you're making stuff up to make yourself look less guilty. So if you feel like you're in this cycle and you're just running around in circles and you can't get out of it, this relationship might be over. So the sixth sign that your relationship might be doomed is one that breaks my heart a little bit. And the sign is that you feel lonely when you're with this person. You feel lonely when you are in the physical presence of your partner. And the reason why this one breaks my heart is because I think back to the past version of myself who felt this way more often than not in a relationship, but yet still clung to the toxic hope that things were going to get better. And this can happen really in any type of relationship, but this is common in a relationship with a narcissist. Because when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, there's usually not a whole lot of depth to that person. Narcissists by nature tend to be more shallow. And so you might be looking for a connection, kind of like you've had with other people in the past, but it's just not there. So for this next sign, I want a show of hands. How many of you have been desperate to get out of spending time with your partner? But it's really a warning sign when it happens more often than not. When you just don't want to be around your partner, or you feel like a sense of anxiety and worry when you're around them. And this happens often when you're in a relationship, when you're in a toxic relationship with someone and you feel like you have to walk on eggshells around them. There's a greater chance that you're going to set them off and have to deal with the ramifications of it. And even if someone else sets them off while you're in their presence, or they're upset about something else, you're going to be the one who has to deal with it. And this type of anxiety can really make you dread spending time with your partner. So the next sign that your relationship is probably over is that you're not talking about things that happen in the relationship because you don't want other people to get a bad impression of your partner. And the things that you're avoiding saying are things that you probably need some emotional support on. And it would be really beneficial if you could talk to people who you love and trust, but you're protecting the other person. You know you're not ready to leave yet, and you know that if you say these things, that other people are going to expect you to leave. I want to let you know that these are not little things. If you are protecting someone, it is because they've done something or said something or made you feel a certain way that is inexcusable. If you're hiding this, it's probably because you either feel like no one else has dealt with this thing before, or people who have dealt with it before are in incredibly toxic relationships, and anyone, including you, would advise the other people to get out as fast as they could. So essentially, you know what's going on. If you can relate to this one, you already know where you stand in this relationship. And if we're talking about more than one event that you are not talking about, purposely not talking about, because you don't want people's opinions of your partner to change, the chances that things are going to improve are very slim. I have been in this place before. I have avoided talking about so many things in a relationship. And when I finally did, every single person that I talked to, the response was the same. Christina, that's emotional abuse. And that I wasn't expecting because I wasn't able at the time to label what I was going through as abuse. The word abuse seemed so, I don't know, dramatic for what I had been through. But unfortunately, that's what keeps us in these bad situations because we think, you know what, I can handle this. I am strong. I can get through this. And you know what? It's not so bad. Other people are going through so much worse. This is nothing compared to what other people are going through. And if you're feeling that, please, please, please stop comparing. Yes, other people might be going through more difficult things, but it doesn't mean that you should be going through this. If you're holding back, if you can relate to this, what the thing that you're avoiding telling people, it might be abuse. It might actually be your sign and the only sign you need that this relationship is over. So another sign that your relationship might be over is that you're fantasizing about being single again. And this is not a fleeting thing. This is something that you are thinking about more often than not. The idea of being single consistently always feels better than being in the relationship that you're in. So I've been here too. And when you feel this way, it feels almost exciting, freeing to think about being single again. And there may be some of that that's a little bit normal because there are benefits to being single and there are benefits to having a relationship. And sometimes when you have one, you might think about what it was like when you had the other. But if you're getting this sense that it's exciting to be free of your partner, it's a sign that your relationship might be over. So this next sign is similar, but it's a little bit different. And that is you are fantasizing about having a relationship with someone who is not your partner. And this, again, it's not fleeting. It's not that you see someone interesting and have a daydream about it. This is something that you are actually maybe considering acting on, that you feel like your life with this other person would be a lot better than your life with your partner. So the next sign that your relationship might be over is that your partner does not support you, like ever. So for example, if you're trying to get fit and healthy, or if you're trying to lose weight, your partner might stock the cabinets with all your favorite junk foods. They're going to sabotage you at every pass. And on this channel, we talk about narcissism a lot. And there is one type of narcissist, a vulnerable narcissist, whose abuse can be much more subtle. I like to call this death by 1,000 paper cuts. This is the type of abuse that is just small and stinging, but consistent. So someone like this may appear to support you, but they will also stand in your way. And they'll do so with plausible deniability. Oh, I didn't mean it that way. Or, oh, did I really do that? I don't think I did that. And someone like this may actually do everything to support you and then pull the rug out from under you when you are about to succeed. So the next sign that a relationship is essentially over is that you are getting a lot of apologies without changed behavior. This is what I often call a faux apology, and it is a form of manipulation. When somebody is apologizing but not changing their behavior, the words essentially they're just words. They don't mean anything. But if you're in a toxic relationship, you are clinging to that toxic hope, the hope that things are going to turn around. So when someone tells you exactly what you want to hear, you're much more likely to believe them, even if there's no evidence to support that this is going to happen. And maybe they have even given you these types of apologies before. The worst of this is that it steals from you. It steals time that you could have used to get out of this relationship, to start recovering, and to find a relationship with someone who is willing to work on things. Another sign that your relationship might be doomed is that you're avoiding intimacy or that your partner is. This is another one that happens from time to time in most relationships. But again, this is about consistency. So if this has been going on for a very long time and there's very little intimacy in your relationship, it's a sign that something's off here, something that you may want to work on. And if you have already tried and the other person is unwilling, there's also a good chance that there are other issues in the relationship. So in this place, I think it's usually a good idea to look at everything as a whole. So the next sign that your relationship may be doomed is that there's resentment present in the relationship. If you are resentful towards your partner or they are resentful towards you, that's a difficult thing to get over. Now, of course, there are small resentments and big ones. What I'm talking about here are the big things, the things that affect how you feel about the other person. So all of that brings us to this sign right here, which is kind of the culmination of all these things, is that one or both people in the relationship give up. They just stop trying. Maybe they won't go to therapy. They won't have any conversations about the relationship or what you can do together to work on things and improve things. If one person in the relationship just completely shuts the other person out and shows no signs of emotionally coming back into the relationship, this relationship is over. It always takes two people to work on things. You cannot be the one to carry the relationship. So if you found this video helpful, I know you're going to benefit from hearing these 10 toxic phrases that have absolutely no place in a healthy relationship. And before you go, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because if you relate to the things that I talk about in this video, there's a whole lot more content for you here. So that'll help ensure that you don't miss a thing. And I hope to see you next time.